Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. Today, I have kind of an interesting idea to share with you. I've been talking about the World Peace Marketing Strategy, and I've been talking about technology and the three inventions that work together. My little oatmeal box idea. It's basically all these ideas are coming together right now. I have been kind of procrastinating a little bit over the holidays to get started on this, but in the back of my mind, I've been nudged to do something to take the World Peace Marketing Strategy idea to the next level. And getting out of the abyss is the idea, the classes for the top world people. Okay, I'm going to share with you a little personal thing that happened to me today that kind of pushed me forward. Okay, the top row is for the people who stand on principles. And these are the people who are the teachers to the projects level. Okay, the projects level is the second row. These are the people, the second row are the people who are focused on money and power. And they have to assume responsibility for their own financial support. Let's say the Republicans are depending, a lot of Trump supporters are depending on him to make them prosperous when they should be actually turned around at home, starting their own small businesses, because a lot of them are capable people. Okay, so relying on somebody else to do something for you, you're just going to be disappointed. These people have gone down at the games. The Republican Party is in terrible shape right now because some of them are functioning for their own interests and some of them are focused on money and power. And whenever the Democrats stand on principles, the Republicans go down into the power games. So it's like this dance that has been going on. This is the battles of Armageddon that we're talking about. And how in a movement, the same, excuse me, the same schism happens in any movement. So the world peace movement has started. Okay, so as I've been kind of thinking about what to do here, I have been working on, these are also prototypes. I am an amateur at everything I do except I'm a channel, and I'm a professional channel, so to speak. But these catalogs they go along with the World Peace Marketing Strategy. It's the first catalog for the top row people is, what can I do? Okay, now I put a lot of notes on this. I'm working on cleaning it up and getting it straightened out. I do that on a regular basis. I realize that what I've done doesn't make any sense, so I keep having to redo it all the time. So the second one is the what can I do? Basically, it's the faith of the puree idea. This is the flower of life level. Then the faith of the puree is for people to, it's like the overview idea for people to assume responsibility for their own projects. And these projects allow people to understand the principles, you could say, of this idea. If you have a husband and wife, and they're getting a divorce, and the husband is standing on the principles and wife has gone down into power games and she's run to the neighbor and she trusts the neighbor more than she trusts her husband, at that point in time, there's a real problem going on. So she has to assume responsibility for her own project, her own financial security and support, rather than relying on the neighbor or relying on her husband. And one of our projects is actually the support level, the California Community Property Law. When I first heard about the California Community Property Law and trophy wives, I thought, oh no, there's going to be about 5 million Californian women who hate me completely. They are going to hate me because I'm going to deal with their security and support. But a time comes when the split happens, like in a marriage, and you have to stand up and be responsible. As a woman, you have to stand up and be responsible. And the women's re-empowerment classes, the based on the Proverbs 31, woman of noble character, she's responsible for her own financial support. And then if the guy leaves, hey, he can go. There's a way to deal with that divorce too. But so the second row is the projects level, the flower of life level for security and support. The third level is who will help me get the life I desire. And that's also kind of a project level, but it's between the people. But this is for the people whose life has been affected. And I've been getting some rather interesting insights about this level too, because technically speaking, I'm kind of part of that group. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. My life has been affected whenever the Republicans and the Democrats are arguing with each other. And I'm also not functioning from my own interest when I'm working to introduce a plan for world peace. Okay, so this is where, let's say, adults like me come together and they start programs for kids, not with the idea that we're going to undermine the family relationship, but to help the children's re-empowerment classes and their classes that are going to be happening. The getting out of in our organization, my organization basically has to follow through. We're a nonprofit organization. The fourth row people, who has what you want, and this group of people, I finished this catalog the other day, and there's only really 2 or 3 projects on it. One of them is three projects. One is a light source invention, and you've seen this idea, and these are the people who create rebellions. So if you've seen this, I've shown you this millions of times in over the years. Okay, the other one is Torhana's freedom, and this is a way to put people into jail and allow them to come out and be turned around. It's like this is something, the program that we'll be introducing associated with our exit strategy for Iraq, because Torhana was a sociopath who was basically buried alive in a tor in England and I believe it was around the time of Stonehenge. The last thing of Stonehenge, part of the hostile takeover of Stonehenge. So this is something, these projects, and then the time machine project is associated with this too. I'm still working on these catalogs, but then the next step is, so the time machine, I'll tell you a little bit about that. The time machine project is the last one. So let's say the people are buried alive and they just don't ever get turned around. They don't. You could say that some major people from history. You could say Merlin was supposedly at the Crystal Cave. I don't know. That book was out a long time ago, but Merlin was supposedly buried alive in a cave. And that was because of abuse of power too. So let's say people who are abusing their power, and you can't convince them to turn around because they're 180 degrees. It's like they can't do a rebellion. Now let's consider that if Donald Trump becomes tyrannical and he's going to have another coup, Torhana's freedom would be the place where he would go. But the project doesn't exist yet. I have to bring in other people to allow that to happen, where he would come out, be allowed to come out and attend organization events and to understand. But our organization is still in its infancy. I don't have anybody who can assume responsibility for this project yet. I can only introduce that idea and open it up to debate. That's my job. That's it. That's why I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. The last one is the time machine, you could say, and that is if they don't turn around, you can't convince them, and they die in the cave, then what happens is you have this idea of, in fact, maybe that's why Jesus was put into a sepulcher by the Romans. They might have considered him to be, let's say, antisocial, somebody who could not be turned around. Okay, but Mary Magdalene was another person who was basically not so much buried alive, but she was somebody who did turn around, a sociopath who did turn around. Somebody said that she had a bunch of demons, and the demons are basically something that we address in the world peace marketing strategy, is taking on the fears and exorcism of demons. But the last one, the time machine, is interesting because what it does is it brings people, let's say all of the people who come together, they're pure ray people who are like bearing the family purpose in life, and then the other members of the family help from their perspective. It's like a lineage, like a king or a queen, a lineage, and then the other people are the people who help. Okay, the same thing happens with people who are incorrigible, so to speak. But the pure ray idea comes down. But if they become impossible to deal with, because they're overcome by their fears, then they go to a place in heaven, so to speak, after they die. And then Lady Gaia, or the female aspect of God, will bring these people forward into this time period, and for a week possibly, and then they will learn, will find out who they are. I might write a book with them to find out that every 100 years there's going to be one person who comes in, and then I don't know if I'm going to be writing books, but I'm sure that this is going to be something where we'll have some sort of a program associated with it to find out what they did. And then, because absolute time happens simultaneously, they will go back and they will undo the damage they've done and then change the future. Okay, I'm going to suggest my guide, my main teacher is Seth, and he worked with, in his last set of students, you could say, he worked with Jane Roberts and wrote the Seth books, the Seth Speaks, the Seth series. And Jane Roberts, and I don't remember if Seth channeled it with her, but the Museum of Time books, it talks about how time, the Education of Oversoul 7, that series, if you want to know more about it, you can go back and read those books. They're pretty interesting books. They talk about how all these people functioning at different times are working together simultaneously. There's an oversoul who's working with them, and then they come together, and it even talks about like how the pyramids, how the big rocks were moved and things like that. So if you're interested in that time machine project, that is the one to look at, is how time functions. And as I said before, I did a series of books with Father Time, and those will be available too when the professional publishing team comes out. Now, the reason I took my next step today, and I'm working on this, like I said, I've been working on this over the last week or so, putting these together, but trying to get everything in my mind right. I have kind of like, I'm going to be applying that information now, because I went to the post office today and I got an envelope, a letter, not a letter, but I got a check from the IRS. My organization got a check from the IRS, and basically I got my taxes back. Back in 2011, when I first incorporated with the incorporators, basically what happened was I had certain glitches that I had not addressed, and I got audited. And because I didn't have any way at the time, I was still being harassed by people. I from 2000, the end of 2007 until now, I've been harassed by people. I've been targeted by people, and basically trying to steal the plan, trying to do a hostile takeover. Okay, but what happened was I got audited, and I lost our organization's tax exemption. But we don't accept donations anyway, and I have to bring in the people to do the boards and things like that. I've talked about that before. So now I got my check back, that the taxes I had to pay for my tax exemption, and it's never been really a problem for me because the organization only paid $44.45 in taxes last year. We have to file a 1099 we have to file the regular corporate taxes. Every year I fill out our corporate taxes, and this year I didn't get a letter telling me that I had made a mistake. I got a check back, and I'm trying to figure out what happened that I would get a check back. I tried to call the IRS, and I'm going to be working on that. But I figured this is a perfect opportunity for me to go back and work with this, my first packet of information for the Getting Out of the Abyss classes. Let's call this an abyss, okay? Backed into the corner in the abyss. Now, I'm going to tell you that everybody's in the same crisis situation now. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about here. So let's say that these are the first catalog talks about social conscious cards. This is a series of cards. Let's say that I need to ask somebody to come in and help me. I have 20 people on my mailing list, and just like everybody else, these are part of the World Peace Marketing Strategy. So the first one says this: World Peace started January 1st, 2008. Now remember I told you that I incorporated the organization in 2011, but World Peace started in 2012 or in 2008 because all the cycles lined up and lots of change could happen. So starting in 2008, when all the cycles lined up, people started to be squeezed. It says here, it's like a Christmas tree, and it says time is ending. How can time end? It's absolute, but relative time is ending. You must be willing to work with your flower of life pattern by this time, or you will run out of time. Cycle by cycle, each person must pass on this message. Okay, so I tried to send these cards out to people, and basically I just got slammed. Okay, then the second card is, okay, world peace has been declared. Okay, those who have a social conscience are being asked to rise up and protest when you see oppression of any kind, but you must also assume responsibility to undo the damage done by those who have no conscience and who function from greed, or your protest will go unheard. So you could say that's what I've been doing, is standing up in protest, but I have a plan that benefits everyone. Must assume responsibility to undo the damage. Okay, that's what I've been doing, is working to undo the damage. And then all these other cards are like the cards you send out, and they explain all these different projects that people are being invited into. Then, how about this one? If you are so smart, why are you fighting the universe? So, how about this one? Under God's law, what you do to someone else is done, what is done to you. Once you cash out in the game, what will your score be? Okay, so all of these cards, if you don't make your life happen, who will? Cooperation, okay? And how about world peace? That's the one where you're joined the world peace movement. Okay, so now, for people who are getting on the abyss, you go across the top row to get out of the abyss. You rocket out of the abyss. And then the second row, you go through it again to rebuild your financial foundation. So you're doing both. You start on the first row, then you go the second row with the projects, and that helps you do it. So this is where it is now. The marketing strategy, let's see what I do. Okay, this power packet is the first packet. And inside this packet, once you get the cards, then you start out with the flower of life, and you start to rebuild your power. You start to learn where true power comes from, all the principles associated where true power comes. And one of the cards is this. So let's say you do a project, you're, let's say, the husband or the wife, and you're standing on principles, and the other one is depending on you for your financials, there's financial support or their security, and basically they go down into the games, and then they work with the sociopath next door who's taking advantage of the situation. Okay, so this card right here is one of the cards that's associated with it is a classified ad. People needed to fill these positions. So talk to Karen Holmes. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, is somebody. I have to bring in somebody when I hit a point where I can't go any farther, like being an amateur at everything, or that I need somebody to help me get my income tax, this is organization, my tax exemption back because I lost it, and to help me figure out why in the world I got a check back. Why would I get a check from the IRS returning my taxes? I don't mind paying $44. Did they decide to, what triggered this to happen? I live on the West Coast, and I send all my stuff to, all my tax stuff, I work through Ogden, Utah, that IRS. This one came from Philadelphia. Why would somebody in Philadelphia do that? Why would the IRS in Philadelphia send me my tax money back? I tried to call the IRS and they said, all the lines are busy. So I might have to figure out, ask somebody who knows how to deal with this better than I can, because I'm at the point where everything I do just makes it worse. Okay, I tried to deal with the IRS myself. I made it worse, and now I need somebody to help me deal with it. Okay, if you have ever been an amateur and had something with, you don't know anything about cars or trucks, and you have an old truck, trying to make it run doesn't work. You just make the problem worse. Even watching YouTube videos, I watched a YouTube video, and some expert who knows how to repair cars, and my old pickup truck, I had to replace my my fuel pump. A 5-minute video that somebody who knows how to do it, it took me 3 days. Lots of swear words, and I normally don't swear, okay, but that warranted swear words. So at that point in time is when you bring in somebody who knows how to solve the problem. And that's what these cards are for. So by the time you do that, you bring in let's say, your flower of life people who can help you solve the problems. You separate out each of these different ideas from, let's say, a group of people you already know and who can help you solve the problem. So I'm going to give you just this little hint that I am going to get out of the abyss by sending out these cards, these 20 cards for these social conscience cards, and I'm going to see if I can find somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who can help me deal with my getting out of the abyss with these cards. Now, why would somebody who's been harassing me, why would somebody who's trying to do a hostile takeover, why would somebody who hates my proverbial guts, for that because I've interfered in their life, or they're fighting their fears and whatever, they're in crisis, why would anybody try to stop that from happening? Why would anybody? Okay, so let's say that you're in a situation, you're the president of the United States, and everything you do is making the crisis worse. What happens if you are the head of a nonprofit organization and everything you do makes it worse? What happens if you're a homeowner and everything you do makes it worse? Okay, the whole idea is that everybody is in the crisis situation, and that's what that first card means. Okay, so this is what happens is the third packet is the technology packet, and it explains technology review, but it explains what can I do. Okay, this is much nicer looking booklet. I have to go back and change all these things because I just modify things, and then I have to figure this out in my own thinking. Okay. So, I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. But most of all, share because starting, let's say, I want to show you one more card here. Okay, the Christmas tree card. This is the time is ending card. Okay, if you look at it, it's like different levels. In January 1st of 2008, the flower of life level started to be squeezed. Okay, in February 1st of 2008, the projects level started to be squeezed. Okay, then the support level was squeezed in March 1st, 2008. Now this is a channeled, all my information is channeled. So this is like the spiritual hierarchy telling us that all the cycles lined up and people were being squeezed. Okay, so this is like the world peace marketing strategy. Okay, this is the flower of life level. The top row, people stand on the principles. This is the people who are in it for the money and the power. This is the life people. But the light bearers are the people, let's say, who function for their own interests. And I did a video just the other day about Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and even Donald Trump, because they're 180 degrees from where they think they are. So this is like the husband, the wife, the kids, and the neighbor next door, who basically functions for their own interest. Okay, so those people are being squeezed too. And that's why they feel that this pressure that's been built up, that is about to erupt again if somebody doesn't do something, including me, about the January 6th event, the possibility of Donald Trump calling for another insurrection. And then, starting in May of 2008, let's say that's when the entire world, all over the world, has been affected by this. That's including the future generations. So the kids who basically are being born now and are coming into a world that, instead of world peace that they were prepared for, basically they're coming in and it's nothing but chaos. There's the existential threat of climate change. There's the global pandemic, the economic crisis, the supply chain thing, and all the ripples of effect that have gone out from the exit strategy for Iraq. And if you look at that light source invention, you'll see that how that works. Okay, so I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, but most of all, share. And if you are in the abyss, I need to send out cards to my 20 people who can help me, the people who are the flower of life level and who will help me work on these project ideas. Okay, so that's it. That's how I intend to get out of the abyss. And not only that, I have to figure out, I have to find out from the IRS why they would send me this check back. I've never gotten a check back. I've had like where I've paid too much or something like that and gotten a check back, but I've never, or been told that I have to file another form or something, but I've never gotten my taxes back. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, but most of all share, because this is information. The entire world needs to hear what's going on here. They don't care. Nobody cares about the organization and what's going on here, but in your own life, because this is what's important in your life. The world peace requires the active participation of every person on the planet, and right now every person on the planet is being squeezed. I've had a hard time figuring out how to get people to come in, and now, because everybody's squeezed, and people like Donald Trump and the authoritarian idea isn't working anymore, they're losing power. Why is Donald Trump losing power? Okay, maybe that'll be my next video. So thank you. Thanks for stopping by.